After that, we had the Shavkat Rakhmonov Geoff Neal fight. I think a lot of people were looking forward to this fight because of Shavkat. But that being said, people, when they watch this fight, I think they got to give Geoff Neal some credit. He's
Yeah.
given Shavkat his toughest fight in the UFC. A lot of people call it his quote unquote Gilbert Burns fight. The fight that he needed to prove that he was tough and he wasn't just a finisher and he can go all 3 rounds and blah, 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 even though he got the finish in the last minute of the last fight. You know, definitely a tough fight for him. Shavkat, I was listening to Anthony Smith on the MMA Hour. He made a good point. Shavkat just looked very hittable in this fight, more so than any of his fights in the UFC, which is why we wanted him to fight Hamzat. You know what I mean? Because they had a similar style where it seemed like they were just dominating. But that being said, Shavkat won the fight. You know, there was definitely some interesting exchanges on the feet. Geoff Neal definitely stunned him on the feet. I think he caught him in the 3rd round before he got finished. So, like, it's a fight to me that was more entertaining than I would say depleting for either of these fighters.
Yep.
Geoff Neal definitely can go back and try to get his game more on point, and Shavkat is going to move up and fight a top 5 welterweight. And I would choose between Gilbert Burns and Colby Covington, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not. If Gilbert beats Masvidal, yeah, I agree with you, Gilbert or Covington. That fight was amazing. I think that fight was great. Honestly, I think that fight should be nominated for Fight of the Year so far because that fight was fantastic. I feel like, yes, that was a fight that spectators needed to see just to be like, okay, can he deal with 3 rounds of a tough opponent? I think he passed that test with flying colors. Now, I understand Anthony Smith's opinion, like, oh, well, he's very hittable. I think that the reason why he's very hittable because he went against a guy who could box very well in Geoff Neal. Most of these fighters that's fighting Geoff Neal, they don't really want to stand in front of him and box. Shavkat did that, and that was very impressive to me because he didn't have to do that. He did it. He could have kept spamming takedowns and all that other shit, but he did it. He fought him standing up, then went toe to toe, and unfortunately, Geoff Neal just happened to be the man that didn't get his hand raised at the end. But if you watch the post-fight press conference, Dana said he paid both of them. Even though Geoff Neal missed weight, he paid both of them because he acknowledged what all the other fans acknowledged. That fight was fantastic. That, even though that everybody's probably celebrating Shavkat, you have to give credit to Geoff Neal because he's the other half of that fight that made it fantastic. So I agree with your take on Shavkat. I think Geoff Neal really, why not give him some, once he heals up, of course, why not give him somebody like a Sean Brady? You know what I mean? Or try to give him a little tune-up with Michael Chiesa or something like that. So this way, he could get back in the win column and get another top contender fight. Unless the UFC kind of is like, hey, we're going to give him like Jorge Masvidal or something, which would be a crazy fight.
It would be a crazy fight, but I feel like that's the fight just because, hey, you want to give Jorge Masvidal somewhat of a big name. Like, if I'm being real, if Shavkat fights Jorge, he beats him. I think he dust him.
I'm talking about Geoff Neal, not Shavkat. Yeah, Shavkat should fight what you suggested, Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns. I'm saying Geoff Neal, he could fight at Jorge Masvidal.
Who do you have in that fight if they fight?
Geoff Neal.
Okay, Geoff Neal by like finish or Geoff Neal by like a decision? I think he would finish him, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think he would finish him too. I don't think a first round KO, TKO, but I'm thinking like maybe, second round the earliest. For sure, he'll get it done by the 3rd round.
So with that being said, we move on to the championship fights. So we